Hey there, everybody. Phil here. Going to be working through Communalytic just a little bit. Disclaimer right up front is that I've definitely tooled around with this, but I would by no means say that I'm an expert or anything. So it is going to be still a little bit experimental and a little bit explorative as we go around. So communalytic.org, I'm familiar with Netlytic already. And this seems similar to a point, but it actually seems also like it's designed a little bit differently, and it appears, at least the GUI appears to be like a little bit updated. But I kind of wanted to go through and even just take it slow and take it step by step as we work through the functionality of this and sort of see how this might be applicable for researchers in culture studies or communications or for various other reasons too. So at communalytic.org, here I am looking at its description. So Communalytic is self-proclaimed as an all-in-one computational social science research tool for studying online communities and discourse. Now, that seems to be right up our alley. I imagine this. Of course, Dr. Gajala gives us, these sites and these tools for a reason. And this course in affect theory and data science has been an interesting one to sort of attempt to quantify this affectual experiences that people are having in these various online platforms. So let's go through here and look exactly as to what Communalytic thinks it is. So number one here, it says it's a data collector, an easy-to-use social media data collector designed to collect publicly available data from Reddit, Telegram, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, or you can import your own files. No coding required. So you don't have to be a data science person to get the data. I guess that's good. Via CrowdTangle. Now that's something new for me, so I'm going to be learning about that as we go. And Telegram is not something that I've heard of, so maybe that's a social media platform that is either new or old or just not for my demographic. I'm not sure what I'm missing on that one. And obviously you can kind of see, based on what platform, which type of data you might be collecting or for what reason you're going to various platforms. I do find that, this in similar to Netlytic is a little bit limited as to what platforms you're able to collect this data from, because there's many more options out there that you might gain very pertinent information from, right? Other platforms. I mean, where's MySpace, right? Anyway, I guess the point of me saying that is maybe you're not going to paint a full picture with data from just one of these places, although it does make sense that each one of those platforms has a sort of particular angle. Like maybe before in a previous tutorial I was talking about how Twitter seems to be more of like the politically oriented or politically active sort of platform. So I guess I just think that there are other options out there that might need to be added to this list. Okay, it's also a toxicity analyzer, an AI-powered toxicity analysis module designed to identify toxic and antisocial interactions in online discourse. Users can choose from two different AI toxicity detection systems, Detoxify or Perspective. Now, I personally have an issue with that because, I come from a background of traditional radio broadcasting, and, the toxicity analyzer in traditional broadcasting is at least in America, is the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. And, their two different detection systems are indecency and obscenity. Now, I've been thinking about broadcasting and teaching it for a long time, so I know that those systems are flawed and that the FCC is sort of an antiquated regulatory agency. And the real main underlying issue with the FCC, or any sort of toxicity analyzer, if you want to put it that way, is the subjectivity there. So even though they say they have two detection systems, detoxify or perspective, well, I mean, we're going to dive in and hopefully find out a little bit more about what each one of those things means. But at the same time, it's like, well, who's designing those things? Who's deciding that everything that's in the detoxify AI-powered analysis module is really toxic? Somebody has to program it. So somebody's bias is going to be inherently involved there. And I have particular issues with that. So I'm like leery or whatever. I'm suspicious about the toxicity analyzer. The sentiment analyzer, a lexicon and rule-based sentiment analysis module designed to detect the polarity of text in a data set. Users can choose from 3 different sentiment analysis libraries. These sort of similar issues, except for, replace toxicity, right? And the network analyzer, a network analyzer module designed to automatically generate and visualize various types of signed and unsigned networks, including communication and link sharing networks. I can imagine that this is going to be very helpful. So the analysis tool at the end here, and visualizing things, I think is going to be the most important part of this. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and dive in, and we're going to go with the education login. And I already went through the process, but it was instantaneous. I put in my .edu email address and said what my affiliation was, and got myself the free 30-day education trial of full functionality of Communalytic to my understanding, and saying, well, I don't have any data sets shared with me or imported or whatever. I'm coming in to this fresh. So what do I want to collect data from? We've done Twitter with Netlytic. Reddit is not something that I've ever really participated in or found particularly useful. Might be able to come back to that. And like I was saying, Telegram, well, I'm just going to have to do research there because I'm not quite sure what some of that stuff is. But I am very interested in these 2 areas here. So I'm going to jump through the hoops and see if I can get access to some of these things, because it's not just readily available. So some of what we're going to be doing here is going through the process of having access to the data, because yes, it's publicly available, but there a couple of things need to happen before we can start sort of scraping that data. It's not just going to be available to us out of nowhere. So let's jump through the hoops and see what we've got going on here. So what I want to do is add one of these keys for the various platforms that I want to collect data from. And it has a note down here: we recommend using a personal Gmail account to request your API keys. Some institutional emails may block Google Cloud Console. Hopefully that doesn't happen because I am working on a university computer, although I will use a personal Gmail account. So let's start with the CrowdTangle, because that's where that's initially what I clicked on, but then you have access to all these different keys. So let's start here, and I want to apply for academic research access to Facebook's CrowdTangle because I don't have the key yet. So before I can add the key, I've got to start doing these other things. So CrowdTangle started a pilot program in 2019. We definitely want to apply. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see where this takes us. It's like thinking about it, slowly churning away. I'm going to jump back in. Be part of CrowdTangle's academic research program and get access to the CrowdTangle interface. University research. We're currently prioritizing university researchers, including faculty, PhD students, and postdoctoral research fellows. Hooray! So that should be easy for me, right? Let's see. Okay. This application form is intended only for university-based researchers. Good. To inquire about access, we are prioritizing research about misinformation, all these things. I'm going to go ahead and jump through the hoops here. Use my Gmail account. Well, oh, it says use your university email address, not your personal. Okay. Fine. Let's see if BGSU is here. Nice. Let's go ahead and say that my research is about misinformation. Regards, misinformation on let's just make it as general as possible. There we go. Let's keep it as vague as possible and see how far we get. I imagine some sort of AI tool is going to be like analyzing this. I'm hoping that it's not a check back later. Let's see. You will receive an email shortly that includes a link to confirm your acceptance of the CrowdTangle terms of service. If you do not receive an email within 5 minutes, it is likely that you misspelled your email address. Oh no. So 5 minutes or less. Let's see. I'll refresh my university email and take a look through the junk folder and all that. Aha! Hey, pretty good. Let's review and accept. It's like sometimes I get too many tabs going on, I forget where I'm at. Here we go. I'm sure this is 15 pages long, so I've already signed away my life to social media, I'm sure, in some other form, so why not once again? Thank you for submitting an application. Please note that we are prioritizing specific research topics as noted on the application form and may not be able to onboard you if the research falls outside that scope. Ah, okay. So I got as far as I could with that. We'll see if I will eventually get access for CrowdTangle access to Facebook. Cool. Well, we did our best with that. And let's go back and do the same thing. Because you know what? I find myself in my personal research or interest areas is definitely YouTube. So let's follow the steps and try to get access to YouTube APIs. Thank you for submitting an application to CrowdTangle. Please note that we are just sort of reiterating what I already saw. I was hopeful I already got in. Okay, tutorial on how to request a YouTube API key. To request a YouTube API key from Google, head here. Okay, step 1. Let's do it. All right, this one says non-institutional Gmail. Once logged in, go to Google Cloud Console. Here. All right, so let's sign in. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're a small company. Just going to go with my Gmail account here. Sure, I read that. Okay, I thought we were supposed to. All right, a verification code coming to the email. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Individual payments. Well, anything for this class. Oh, I must choose one. What are you interested in doing? Data analytics. Let's do that. Okay, working through it kind of quick to see where this takes us. So let's see, $0 out of $300 credits on my free trial. Let's go back and look at, so once we're logged in, go to your Google Cloud Console by selecting Console on the top of your screen. Maybe I've already gotten past that part. Once you select Google Cloud, you'll be prompted with a welcome message. Select your country, review the terms. You won't be auto-charged. Well, that's good. I feel like maybe I jumped ahead and I got through some of these things. We want the YouTube API, though. All this other stuff looks familiar. So let's type YouTube Data API. Type this. Okay, I'm going to copy it, come back over, and say that. There it is, version 3. Got it. Now we need to enable it. So far so good. All right. So now it's enabled. Create or select an existing project. Create credentials. You can select this option from the APIs and services. So we're going to create credentials. I want public data. All right, and here's my key. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. And I think that means I can go back to Communalytic now and put in the key by pasting. All right, so I got my key there. So let's opt in to this email thing. Okay. So let's start looking for, enter the following details to start collecting. We'll call this YouTube data. Okay, so now what I need to do is find, well, what video am I going to be collecting comments from? YouTube Comments Data Collector, right? So I just went to my homepage here and I saw this guy, Peter Boghouse. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but whatever. He's got a pride conversation. I imagine that's controversial to a certain point. And I just want to kind of quickly get some information from something. So I'm going to take that, copy and paste that URL from the YouTube video and get it into Communalytic and say, give me information from that. So collecting has started. And then I guess, so it's telling me must be going through, well, this is my limit. And it's going through the number of comments that are going to be available from that particular video. And then it looks like I'll be able to go through and add the filter through the toxicity analysis, the sentiment analysis, etc. So I wonder how quickly this is going to go. Looks like we're done now. So 1,029 comments since this video was published, let's see, 1 day ago. So out of 58,000 views from the post 1 day ago, we've got 1,029 comments. So let's go ahead and go through the process and then eventually get to the network analysis and download our information. The toxicity analysis module uses AI models to detect the level of toxicity in online conversations. Powered by 2 machine learning APIs, Detoxify and Perspective, the module can be used to analyze posts in your dataset and can generate the following toxicity scores. Toxicity, severe toxicity, identity attack, insult, profanity, and threat. Let's learn a little bit more. Communalytic will only analyze the first 3,000 characters of each post. Posts longer than 3,000 characters will be automatically truncated. Now, when they set a rule like that, you got to kind of wonder, what's the point? Now, I can't imagine myself putting a post as a comment to a YouTube video that's longer than 3,000 characters. I mean, goodness. But if someone does, shortening it, I don't know, like losing anything after 3,000 characters, maybe you're losing some important information. So that could be a potentially problematic area. Prior to running the analysis, the module excludes the following: usernames, hashtags, and websites. Okay. The resulting toxicity scores will be added to your dataset and can be downloaded. The Detoxify models currently support the following languages. Good. So it's talking about like which, maybe that would give you a reason why you would choose one of these models over the other because of your native language or something like that, or the language of the video itself. So I'm going with the first, Detoxify, and let's start the analysis. Oh, I did it. Okay. So we're going to be able to check the progress in 1 minute. We've got an 18 minutes estimated time. We'll see if it really takes that long. But while this is going, and I can come back and check the progress, we can go back in and look at other areas of Communalytic. Now, over here, sort of like a dashboard. Obviously I can go back to my data sets. Not sure if I'm going to want to do that exactly. But it's giving me an overview of all the information. What is my data set name? Blah, blah, blah. How many things am I dealing with? When did it happen? And then it's giving me, this is the rest of the sort of process that we go through. So once we get through the toxicity analysis, we can go through sentiment analysis, network analysis, etc. So yeah, I can see that it's making jumps here. So hopefully it doesn't really take 18 minutes, and this will really just sort of speed up after a little while. It'll just sort of jump through. But let's go ahead and see what other things that Communalytic has to offer us. Okay, so I'm going to open up the tutorials page in a new tab so I don't interrupt this progress that's happening here. So it's working through these things. I think we'll be able to get there. So it's saying if you're new, we've got a bunch of tutorials to help you. If the stuff that I'm not doing, if I'm not covering it all here, then they've got some stuff for you already set up. I think this is probably the most useful thing for me, is to say, well, if you're going to actually use any information from this site, then this is how you use it, a citation for it in your research. And boy, do I need help with that. Just citations and formatting. And so thank you, Communalytic, for putting that up front for me. And I guess, I've worked through some of this stuff, but it's kind of like showing you exactly, step by step, this is how you do it. We're working with YouTube data. We're currently on the toxicity analysis. So let's read about that. The toxicity analysis module uses AI models to detect the level of toxicity in online conversations. Yeah, we've heard that before. Looks like there's a couple of tutorials, so some video things that they're going to show you. But next up after this is going to be the sentiment analysis. Let's read more about that. The sentiment analysis module in Communalytic can conduct sentiment analyses on text in the following languages. Sure. Okay. So really just talking about the restrictions about language more than anything else. And the network analyzer can automatically generate and visualize the following types of networks. So this is, similar to Netlytic or something like Gephi. This is where Communalytic is putting together like a visualization of nodes and the connections between those nodes, right? So these are the types of visualizations, the type of networks that it can visualize. Reply to network, account to account, retweets, two-mode links. So it can be pretty useful and pretty flexible. I'm going to go back and just check in on our progress here. So we're working through it. I think I might have to take a pause and come back to this when it's ready. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and we'll come back when we've made more progress. So Communalytic wasn't lying. It took a solid 20 minutes to work through the toxicity analysis. But it's really interesting to see the results here. So analyzing 892 posts out of 1,029 using the detoxify version of their toxicity analysis. This is what we came up with. So these are the different categories that it looks for: toxicity, severe toxicity, identity attack, insult, profanity, and threat. And you can find out more information about the specifics of each one of those. And what it's telling me, it's kind of telling me the average based on these 1,029 comments, what the highest value was, and what the lowest value was. So there was, across the board, plenty of posts, or at least one, I shouldn't say plenty, at least one post that had none of the markers that reveal any of these like categories. However, there was at least one that had 100% toxicity. And then severe toxicity, not so much. But there was like some pretty high numbers on these others. And here's the visualization about it. And looking at this, it's telling us, well, what level of the different categories are we receiving? Toxicity, profanity, severe toxicity, etc. And since when? And since this my selected video was only posted a day ago, we're going hour by hour. And of course you can export the information, and it's going to turn out some other visualizations for us too, based on the different categories: toxicity scores, identity attack, right? So pretty interesting to see how that all panned out. Yeah, I'm really interested in this tool. I feel like this is much more useful than filtering some of the things that I saw in Netlytic, which was maybe bringing in the importing a data set that was about like profanity, like the different words that are categorized as profane, and then filtering through that. I think even though this took a long time, so to speak, to get through the analysis, I think that it worked pretty well, and I'm very interested in this data. Let's look through the sentiment analysis also, and I'm imagining we're going to go through the same sort of 20-minute process. So I'm going to go ahead and take another little break, and we will come back and see what the sentiment analysis offers us. So here's the information that it churned out. So it detects polarity of text in your data set in these languages. It can determine if the posts in your data set express neutral, negative, or positive sentiments. That's awesome. Now, I'm like leery about some of this stuff. Like, who is determining what's neutral, negative, or positive? So that's where I'm suspicious about like what is happening here, and who's determining it, and like who programmed this. But I'm pretty impressed with the ability to do what it's saying it's doing. I'm just not sure about the specifics. So negative sentiment in English. Let's look at those. 33% negative, neutral 15%, positive 50%. Now, of course, you have to consider who is actually making comments. So it's awesome that I can comb through the comments of these YouTube videos and find out this information, but it also is going to be restricted to who is actually watching the video and then making a comment. So is it one of those things like where really it's the subscribers to the channel that are writing the comments? In that case, it's no wonder that positive statements have the majority out of, our categories here. But if this were more like, say, a Yelp review, most people would say, if you're like a restaurant business owner or something like that, that the people that go to out of their way to make comments are the ones that had a bad experience. So this might be heavily leaning a particular direction based on how vocal or whatever the people are. We got some more visualizations here. This is really great. I'm pretty impressed with Communalytic. I like it, and I think it's much more useful. And even though the one step, the toxicity analysis, took some time, I'm finding it much more useful to go through Communalytic for this information. So let's see if we can generate a network. And now what we're going to do is select the desired network type, then click on generate. So do we want the replies or the threaded discussions? Let's go with threaded discussions and generate and see what we wind up with. So let's just go, of course we can download. So I can tell that it created this very quickly because when I hit check progress, it went right through it. I can download and take it with me. We can put it into Gephi, all these other tools that we've heard about, but let's just look at it right here. So there's our network with our nodes and our connections between people. And here's our actors and our edges, in degree, out degree. Really awesome information. I'm very impressed with this. Network layout. We can start to filter things. Right? We can filter by toxicity. We can filter by sentiment. This is really awesome. Very cool. I can imagine how this would be useful in lots of different ways, especially, trying to find out like who's influencing what and like what's the most popular, and like, wow, you could even say, well, based on toxicity, it reminds me of like the old Howard Stern movie or something like that, Private Parts, where they're understanding that most of the listeners of Howard Stern back in the 90s keep listening because they hate him so much and want to know what he's going to say next. And so toxicity is not necessarily bad in relationship to popularity. So, well, if again here we're dealing with YouTube or something like that, and YouTube is all about clicks and watch time and click-through rates and stuff. And if people are that toxic and they're going to click and watch and comment just to be toxic, well, that is actually potentially more valuable than being positive and having sentiment, pretty incredible. So as an analysis tool, and as someone that has a YouTube channel and does some stuff like this is a pretty cool insider look at things. So I hope you enjoyed my sort of going through this Communalytic environment and found it useful in some ways, and hopefully you're going to find it as intriguing and as useful as I did. Check you next time.